Two students sat in the same classroom for 10 years. One became a master. The other learned nothing. In an ancient city famous for its craftsmen, a legendary potter opened his workshop to teach anyone who wanted to learn. He didn't charge money. He didn't turn anyone away. He simply opened his doors and said, "Come, watch, and learn." Two young men entered on the same day. Both wanted to become potters. Both had the same access to the master. But 10 years later, one owned the most successful pottery shop in the region, while the other was still broke and unskilled. The difference wasn't talent. It was what they did while sitting in that workshop. The first student's name was Yossa. On his first day, Yossa walked into the workshop excited. He watched the master create beautiful pottery. The way his hands shaped the clay, the way he controlled the wheel, the precision, the skill. Yossa sat there for hours just watching. When the day ended, he went home feeling inspired. "I'm learning from a master," he thought. "Just being here is enough." The next day, Yossa came back and watched again. The master didn't give lectures. He didn't explain every step. He just worked. And Yossa just watched. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Yossa kept showing up every day. He was consistent. He never missed a session. He thought consistency meant he was learning. But here's the problem. Yossa never touched the clay. He never asked questions. He never tried to make anything himself. He just sat there, watching, waiting for knowledge to somehow flow into him through observation alone. When other students asked the master questions, Yossa stayed quiet. When the master offered clay to practice with, Yossa hesitated. "I'm not ready yet. I need to watch more first." Years passed. Yossa was still showing up, still watching, still waiting to feel ready. People saw him in the workshop every day and thought he must be learning so much. But Yossa's hands had never shaped clay. His mind had absorbed nothing because he never tested what he saw. After 10 years, someone asked Yossa to make a simple pot. He tried. He failed. He couldn't do it. 10 years in a master's workshop, and he had learned almost nothing because he never practiced. He just watched. The second student's name was Ibrahim. On his first day, Ibrahim also watched the master work. But after an hour, Ibrahim picked up a piece of clay and tried to copy what he saw. His first attempt was terrible. The pot collapsed. The shape was wrong. It looked nothing like the master's work. But Ibrahim didn't quit. He tried again. The master glanced at Ibrahim's failed pot, but said nothing. He just kept working. Ibrahim watched more carefully this time. He noticed a detail he missed before. The way the master's thumb pressed at a certain angle. Ibrahim tried again. Better this time, but still not good. He tried a third time, a fourth. By the end of the first day, Ibrahim had made 10 terrible pots, but each one was slightly better than the last. The next day, Ibrahim came back and made 10 more. Some were still bad. Some were okay. Some started looking decent. After a week, Ibrahim had made over 100 pots. Most were failures, but his hands were learning. His mind was understanding. His skills were growing through action, not just observation. Ibrahim asked questions. When he got stuck, he'd approach the master and say, "I tried this technique, but it keeps breaking. What am I doing wrong? The master would show him once, and Ibrahim would practice 20 times. When Ibrahim saw the master do something interesting, he wouldn't just watch. He'd immediately try it himself. Fail, adjust, try again. This is how he learned. By year 3, Ibrahim's work was good. By year 5, it was great. By year 10, Ibrahim was creating pottery that rivaled the master's. Not because he had more talent than Yossa, but because he spent 10 years doing while Yossa spent 10 years watching. Ibrahim opened his own shop. Customers loved his work. He started earning real money. He built a reputation. He became known as one of the best potters in the city. Meanwhile, Yossa still couldn't make a decent pot even though he sat in the same workshop for the same 10 years. One day, frustrated and confused, Yossa asked Ibrahim, "How did you become so skilled?" "We learned from the same master. We spent the same amount of time in the workshop. Why can you do this and I can't?" Ibrahim looked at him and said something that hit hard. "We didn't learn the same. You watched. I practiced." Yossa tried to argue, "But I was there every day. I saw everything you saw. I observed the master just like you did." Ibrahim shook his head. "Watching isn't learning. Doing is learning. You sat for 10 years hoping knowledge would jump into your hands. I worked for 10 years forcing knowledge into my hands through failure and practice. The master was never a teacher in the way you wanted. He was a guide. He showed the path, but you had to walk it yourself. You waited for him to give you skills. I took the skills by practicing what I saw. Here's the truth about learning and earning. Knowledge is everywhere, but wisdom only comes to those who act on what they learn. You can watch 1,000 YouTube videos about business and stay broke. You can read 100 books about investing and never build wealth. You can attend every seminar and workshop and still be exactly where you started. Because watching isn't the same as doing. Consuming information isn't the same as applying it. Yossa represents most people. They consume content. They watch tutorials. They attend classes. They tell themselves they're learning. But they never practice. They never apply. They never test what they know in the real world. They're waiting to feel ready. Waiting for perfect understanding, waiting for confidence that will never come through watching alone. Ibrahim represents the people who actually succeed. They don't just consume, they create. They don't just watch, they do. They learn by failing, adjusting, and trying again. Think about your own life right now. How many videos have you watched about making money? How many books have you read? How many ideas have you heard? Now ask yourself, how many have you actually tried? Most people are professional students. They keep learning but never earning because they never leave the classroom. They never get their hands dirty with real attempts. The master potter didn't teach with words. He taught by example. But the example only worked for students who tried to copy it with their own hands. This applies to every skill. You can watch coding tutorials forever, but you'll never be a programmer until you write code and break it and fix it yourself. You can read about business, but you'll never be an entrepreneur until you start something and fail and adjust. Watching gives you ideas. Doing gives you skills. And skills are what get paid. Yossa watched for 10 years and learned nothing. Ibrahim practiced for 10 years and became a master. Same teacher, same time, different approach. Stop being a professional student. Start being a practitioner. The wisdom is already there. Go take it. Watch the next one.